And I actually want to switch over to a guilty pleasure of mine, which is reality TV dating shows. Specifically, I want to talk about the wildly popular Netflix original series, Love is Blind, where contestants have to find a match and fall in love without ever seeing each other's faces. My wife and I finished the first two seasons of the American version, and we also watched the Brazilian and the Japanese seasons. And one of the things that I found so fascinating were the differences between the questions and the conversations people were having while they were trying to find the perfect match. So, for example, like in the Japanese season, a lot of the questions people asked were very logical and rooted in like childhood insecurities or like work-life balance and day-to-day compatibility. In Brazil, the questions were really emotional and about opinions. And in contrast, the American version was heavily focused on status, on appearance, on reputation. And so my question is, very accurate, right? And so my question is, what do you think, since I know that you've watched it, what do you think went wrong with the contestants on Love is Blind? And how should we go about determining if somebody is a suitable life partner? Like, is there a way about going about these topics and conversations to try to get to know somebody if you don't have a physical connection? Because I mean, some people, obviously most people listening to this won't be on the show, but they might experience like dating online, which it could be very similar.
True. Yeah. So which couple?
Pick your favorite.
Different things that they should have done different in the first place. I can't remember all of their names, so you may have to help us with remembering all of their names. But it was so the woman and the man, the one she left.
Oh,
and he went.
Was it Shane and Natalie? Was it the Asian lady?
No, not Shane and Natalie. She left from the after they met.
Shane and Kyle, yeah.
Even why did they she knew that they had differences in beliefs. So why would you even try to make that work? Especially if you know that your family is heavily rooted in spirituality or religion, which I don't know because okay, so it might be religion. But either way, they're heavily rooted in religion. So those were if you were interested in him, your question should have been around that. Like, okay, so you said that you're an atheist. Now, is there a reason why? Like, had something happened? Were you church hurt? Like, what happened that created this dynamic for you and God? And if it wasn't rooted in that, then how did you think that was going to work anyway?
I believe the commonality that I saw in this past season is that a lot of people want something that they don't have the capability of giving someone else. So I want all these things, but I'm not prepared. I have not been trained. I have no understanding of how to do any of this. It's like showing up to a Fortune 500 job. You don't have a resume. You look like you just stepped out of a greasy bathtub or something, and you're not prepared for any of that. Yeah. So I think some of those couples that didn't make it, had they been more real with themselves from the get-go and actually gave it their all, we're not even going to get into Shake at all because he's
oh God,
a hot mess. Yeah. But had they given it their all, they actually probably would have found a meaningful and long-lasting relationship. But people get in their heads and they mess themselves up.
Because I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I have not seen the show, so I'm going to try to come a little further, kind of eagle eye with it. But just hearing what they said, one of the problems I think that happens when people try to mate is American society specifically is not good at teaching critical thinking and learning how to question. We are very much follow the leader, go with the flow, and don't question people. Be polite, don't be rude. As much as we like to put ourselves off as this, macho, kind of country. Yeah, we're very standoffish when it comes to certain types of things. We're very much about appearances and looking good on the outside, even though, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, that kind of idea. So I think what happens when people start trying to date another person, because we have not, as a collective, really learned how to critically think and ask deep diving, rhetorical or not type of questions. We don't know how to dive into a person. We don't know how to really get into what's really in your head. Where did these ideas come from? How have you maintained them? Because just because you have an idea, but how are you keeping it going? We don't really know how to use those type of words. And on the podcast, I talk a lot about us not having emotional language. So we don't know how to ask emotional questions. So I can ask you a very blatant, blank type of question, but I don't know how to ask you one that's steeped in emotionality and getting to where you like that deep dive, stuff from childhood, and how, like you said, how did you become an atheist? Was it something that you saw, you heard? Was it something you felt? Experienced? What was it that became the catalyst for the change? And just because it was the catalyst, again, how did you maintain that change? Because just because you recognize something, there has to still be some driving force behind it.
And people don't typically know how to answer emotionally either. Yeah. They don't know that a lot of people aren't emotionally intelligent. One of the first things that we do after our intake for our clients is we give them a feeling sheet, because we ask them, we need you to enhance your vocabulary of emotions.
Happy, sad, angry.
Past that. We need more emotion. So my clients I have a clipboard with emotions with the feeling sheet on it. My clients, when they sit down, they grab it because they know the first thing I'm going to ask them is, how are you feeling? How have you been feeling? And they know they can't tell me good, fine, and okay. That's a filler word. We're not using those. So just to add to what these ladies just said, even the couples that got married, I don't think they should have gotten married, because I can't remember the two that first said yes. Not the black couple. It was
Danielle and Nick.
Yeah.
That baby needs some work.
Yes, she needs to go to therapy. Like, because first they're going to be divorced because and I hate to speak that over somebody's marriage, Lord, please forgive me. But still, she's expecting for him to make her secure.
She wants to be saved.
Yes, and he can't do it. She has to do that.
He had a lot of emotional language. I appreciated the way he went about things, but this is going to be, from what we're seeing, a very one-sided relationship until she matures.
And that's going to get old. That's why I threw out the divorce word, because that's going to get old, because she's not giving him what she is requiring from him, like Dr. Wall just said not too long ago. And so if it's one-sided, it's unless she gets some help, go to therapy, something, and it starts to match, or at least come up some, because he was given all of that emotional security. She wasn't giving him anything except for, now she was dialoguing. She was having a conversation with him about it, but she wasn't doing anything about the conversation.
It's the jumping to conclusions for me.
Exactly. And yes. And then with the other couple that made it,
Jared and Ayana.
I don't know if I would have chose him, because they didn't even have a conversation about why I was second pick. Like, you didn't choose me first. You chose somebody else on the show. Now, of course, I know we're all somebody's second pick, because especially if you're dating now, I mean, somebody done dated somebody, yeah. But we was just on the show. You chose somebody else first. That's gonna be an insecurity in her, because I don't know if you really love me, or did you just accept? Yeah, did you settle because the first woman that you wanted said no?
And I think another thing that adds on top of that, just kind of, we pick up a lot of our information from TV, movies, things like that. And a lot of people get stuck on that Jerry Maguire kind of idea of another, you complete me. you know, or you had me at hello, you know, we get caught up in that, you know,
that used to
fairy
be
tale,
yeah.
you know, and so we learn a lot of stuff from observation and what we see our parents do, what we see in movies, what we see on TV, and then we just kind of collapse that together and formulate this idea of what a partner should be. And that's the issue. What they should be,
they should know themselves.
Right. And we come to relationships as two half people, thinking that if I get with this other person, I will be whole, not realizing two whole people make, not two half people. So if I have all of these insecurities that I haven't dealt with, if I have all of these self-esteem issues, unhealed traumas, if I'm questioning my sexuality, I mean, there's so many layers that if I go into that and I bring that ball or that basket to you and I say, hey, I need you to sift through it, it relieves me of responsibility for my own life. And it gives me somebody to blame when it doesn't go well.
So now we have codependency. Wow. Because now I'm depending on you to make me feel better.
Yeah.
Now I'm depending on you to make me think different. Now I'm depending on you to make me move around different. And so when you stop doing that, now if you come in the room and you're upset, now I'm upset because I don't know why you upset. It got to be me. It's got to be my fault. You ain't seen me all day, but it's my fault. Mm-hmm.
So we encourage your audience when they go watch a bunch of movies now, go back and look at how some of these relationships play out. Mm-hmm. And you'll see like, oh my God, like, I had no idea. It becomes clear.
Yeah.
And I wanted to actually follow up with a question about something that you mentioned earlier about, the need to have more emotional fluency and also being able to have these deeper dive conversations. Just real quickly, like, what would you say is a really good emotional question to get to know somebody? Like, is there a favorite one that you feel like you'd ask? I mean, obviously, whether you're dating or whatever, but like, what would be a good screening question to sort of do that deep dive?
Is a Dr. Wall answer because very long time. So
I mean, I'm also the resident introvert, so I don't be talking to anybody. For me, I'm actually just picking their brains and their hearts to see how they respond. I'm not looking for a specific answer. I'm just really trying to figure out, do they understand themselves and do they know how to effectively communicate? So if I'm asking you how your day was and you tell me fine, or you give me a list of things you did, then that tells me that your emotional development and your introspection is not very deep. And that doesn't mean that I write you off, but it means that, okay, we're going to be unequal. It's not going to be an equity type of situation if I continue on this path. And do I have the capacity to work with you in that? Because I may not always have the capacity to do that. Now, if you do, that's fine. So it's not necessarily a specific question or a specific set of things that I ask. It's more so how they are responding and how they are able to communicate what is going on within them. What I tell my clients and what we've talked about on our podcast is you have 3 parts of yourself, technically 4. So you have your emotional side, you have your thoughts, you have your behaviors, and for us who are spiritual, you have your spiritual side of you. All of those things work together to make you whole. You can't leave one part out and expect to function properly. Like, it's not going to work out well for you. So I think a lot of times emotions are hard and people run away from things being hard. And I tell my folks all the time, I don't care if it's hard or it's easy, you need to do it.
Wow. And I think as you're having these types of, because it's not a one type of, like, I agree with Dr. Wall, it's not a one stop type of conversation, but I do think it's important for you to understand, how do you experience pain? How do you experience stress? Not how do you define them, because people can give you a list of behaviors like, oh, well, it means this, this, and this. No, tell me how you experience these things so that I know what I'm looking at when I see it. If you're being snappy and short with me, then because I've asked you, how do you experience this? I can better take my time in my response, and I can adjust my behavior so that I don't personalize and make it like Dr. Jones-Hines was saying earlier, I don't make it about me. I can keep it about you. So I think it's really important to ask people about how they experience something, which can be difficult for people to answer because it's not a typical type of question that we ask. But I do think it helps us really think about, how do I walk around in this world? How do I display? Because there's my effect on, like you were just saying, there's the effect on me, there's the effect on others, and there's my effect on the world around me. So, if I really think about all three of those perspectives, then it can help enlighten the people in your life.
And then I like for things to happen organically. I think people date wrong. That's just my opinion. It's not, any statistics behind it, but I think people date wrong because we tend to date one person and think like we're committed. And that's the only person I'm dating. So I've been telling my clients lately who are on the dating apps, don't go on this thinking that you're meeting your husband. Don't go on this date like this is my husband. We're going to be together forever. No, go on, accept multiple dates. Why not? You're dating. You're getting to know each other. And so when you date and get to know people, the conversation happens organically. I'm not rushing you. I'm not trying to make you tell me everything all in one night. No, we're having a conversation, and whatever comes out, now mind you, I'm paying attention to what comes out, how it comes out, but it's just going to happen organically. That way I don't have to feel like I'm asking you a resume full of questions like you're on an interview, or feel like I'm on an interview. So if it just happens in just conversation, then I don't have to worry about you lying to me either.
And that's another thing that I think we all do this. We talk with our clients about paying attention to your experience.
Yes.
Versus saying, I want a person that's loyal and funny and understanding and supportive. If these are characteristics that you are looking for, like, I want someone that's honest. Okay, so what is your experience of honesty with this person? So when they said that they were going to go to just for example, they said they were going to be back at 5, but it's now 6. So now how are you experiencing that situation? Are you taking it as that this person lied to me and they, now I have to deal with that? Are you experiencing it as, well, they may have been inconvenienced? They did call me and let me know. Like, how are you experiencing other people's behavior, and how are you interpreting what's going on with them? Brutal honesty, how are you taking that? Is it, like, oh my gosh, I'm internalizing it and I'm believing what this person is saying? Am I taking it as constructive criticism? So what is your experience of what's going on around you as well, and paying attention to that?
And then I would say a lot of our women, they typically get into this mindset, well, what if he doesn't like me? What if you don't like him? We need you to pay attention to that. Like, don't go on this date with the expectation of, or the thoughts of, what if he doesn't like you? You have to pay attention to what you are feeling about this person. And that way, if you don't feel comfortable with this person, if you're not vibing with this person, if you don't feel like either the chemistry is vibing or connecting, or the conversation is connecting, then you have to figure out what you're going to do with that. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to walk away from it, because sometimes first dates are awkward and we just uncomfortable. So you may give it another chance. But if you're not one of those people who's going to give it a second chance, then check yourself too. Why not?